Are you ready? You ladies good to go?
We're ready.
Awesome, awesome. Well, first and foremost, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me in Alaska once again. My name is Michael Gascon, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm a 5th generation horse trainer who has had the most amazing job of traveling around the world, working some of the world's most problematic horses. And we're gonna show you our way of the horse. What we plan to do today is work one horse at a time, all down the line, and we're gonna give them the final exam of each grade in elementary school moving forward until we see how advanced they are. And by starting in the beginning, what we found is that it really shows the root of the issues versus you telling us what problem it has and us starting there or swinging the leg over to figure out what it is. We're just gonna start in the beginning and see where they're at. So we're gonna start in kindergarten. Kindergarten is respect, and the way that they show us respect is staying outside of our bubble and backing up with no physical pressure. So I'm simply gonna walk him off, and you'll see I'll surprise him a couple times by when I turn around and look at him. And what I wanna see is that I start getting his undivided attention. So I'm simply gonna walk him, and notice I don't walk him with my hand under his face. When I stop and turn, I wanna see that I have 2 eyes and 2 ears. And then we're gonna start asking him to back up. He's pretty sensitive, so he moves off well. What I would like to see though, is if I need to put pressure, I'm gonna send it right down the lead rope like so. And that's gonna put pressure on top of his nose, the same place that I'm gonna use to stop him under saddle. Turn. Notice whenever I back him up, I'm not gonna pop my own bubble. So I'm not gonna be slapping him on the chest or the neck or anything like that. I wanna be able to back him up with as much space as necessary. The most important thing in horsemanship is your safety, and space is your safety. Horses are blunt objects. For them to hurt you, they have to make contact from the ground. From there, we're gonna move to first grade. Just like that, he shows that he's sensitive and he doesn't want a lot of pressure. So we're gonna look to lunge him around. I'm gonna coil up my rope in my right hand, pop her in my push hand, and I'm gonna ask him to walk a circle around us. And here's where we're really gonna look to get this horse's undivided attention. I know this horse pays attention to everything, every little sound, anything that waves, that moves. So what we're looking for is for him to walk a circle and look at us and give us that steering wheel. I want you to think about, when it comes to your safety on a horse, everything that doesn't behoove your health and well-being, it happens in a straight line. Bucking, running, rearing, all those things, they're pushing off with their back end because their back end is their motor. So if we get him soft enough in the face to the left and the right that we could simply use 2 fingers and cross his back feet up, we have the ability to shut him down, which is what we're looking to do. Shut down his motor and have him wait for us. Now you'll notice that we're very specific in the order that we do things, kindergarten, first grade, so on and so forth. It's because everything that we do is a building block for the last thing that we did. You starting to pull this horse around this closely, if the horse doesn't respect your space, well, he's just gonna run into you. He's gonna try to run you over. So having that horse where he's respectful enough that we can just pick a hand up, we're not trying to wear him out. To the contrary, we want to keep him cold and fresh so he feels the repercussion when he tries to run into us or tries to run away from us. Every now and then you'll see me just reach out and pop on that saddle. I want to know what he does whenever he's uptight, whenever he gets worried. So every now and then I'll try to scare the bejesus out of him. If you do that and you go redneck skiing and that horse drags you all over the place, you are not ready to ride. If you just going a little boo is a problem, especially you guys up here that have moose and bear and all kind of critters out there trying to eat you. If your horse can't take a little boo, then they don't need to be out there trail riding until they can. Once we have that horse pretty soft and easy means for him to pass that, for him to pass kindergarten, he just needs to stay outside of our bubble where we can't touch him, where he isn't constantly trying to approach us, and that he backs up with no physical pressure. For him to pass first grade, all he has to do is look at us and walk a circle around us at the same time. He passed. He didn't pass with a A+, but he passed, and there is a difference. A lot of folks want to perfect something before they move forward, and a lot of times if you look for perfect before you move forward, by the time that you get perfect, the horse is unengaged and already looking to give you problems. As opposed to he passes, we'll move forward, but we're going to keep advancing and advancing. Tomorrow when we come back and do that, he's going to pass with a better grade because he's going to be softer and easier. Now, how would this horse do better in first grade? Well, he is giving his head left and right, but you see he's all uptight, has his head real high, his butt clenched. Ideally, to pass with a perfect grade, he'll drop his head flat or below the saddle. And then from there, we can easily move his body parts. We use the mantra, control the head, control the horse. So once we get that horse moving here and he softens up a little bit, then we'll be able to move the other two body parts easily. So from here, we can move his butt. He does that pretty good. You see his back feet crossing. Also from here, we'll be able to move his shoulders. By walking towards his chest, you see his front feet crossing over. We call this square dancing. Cross over those front feet. And he's progressing pretty good at this because he's so sensitive. I like it. The difference between disengaging the haunches and moving the shoulders is we can move his hindquarters without him moving anywhere because it's pivoting. For him to move those shoulders, he has to be moving forward. There we go. And he has to give. So the thing that changed right there from him not giving those shoulders to him giving those shoulders is he gave his face up. So just like that, we're gaining control of the front of the horse, the back of the horse, and the middle of the horse. It's very difficult for them to take you for a ride if you're in control of all those body parts. Give him a little breather here. Now the last thing that we're going to do in first grade is ask him to drop his head. There's a lump of bone right here above his head, and we're going to put a little downward pressure. If he drops his head a centimeter, we'll release. Good boy. Good boy. So I wish there was an inspection code like you have on a vehicle on your horse. So since there's not, we're going to try to give you one. If that horse doesn't back out of your space, don't ride it. It can't tell you any more clearly that you're not in control, you're not in charge. If it's puffing up his head and puffing up his chest and standing his ground or pushing on you, try to push you around, and you can do nothing to back that horse up, don't ride it until you can back it up. If you don't have left and right, if you can't get that horse to look where you want it to look, left and right, don't ride it. You don't have a steering wheel. His head, this is your transportation, and his head is your steering wheel. So if that horse is just locked up and centered, when it gets spooked, when it gets worried, when it gets hot, when it gets cold, you're not going to be able to control it, and then you're left to the elements. So whatever that horse crosses his mind, you'll hear, oh, that horse is buddy sour, that horse is barn sour, that horse is too stutty, that horse is too marish, that horse doesn't like open fields, that horse doesn't like enclosed spaces. We've heard horses are allergic to open fields. Imagine being allergic to your favorite food, knee-high in your favorite food. Horses are sexist, they hate men. Horses are, we hear so much ideology about what the horse doesn't like. What you're really saying is you don't have enough control that when that horse has an opinion, it's just taking you for a ride. that horse wanting to come back to the barn is not the problem. The fact that when it gets anywhere close to the barn, you can't stop it, and it's taking you back to the barn without your approval. That's a problem. Remember, it's not a horse's fear that hurts you, it's their reaction to that fear. So once we gain control of them not wanting to run us over, and they're not willing to run away from us, well, now we can start pushing the envelope and getting them scared on purpose in a place that we know this is a safe environment right here where we're not going to go down a hill or fall off of an embankment. So now we can start spooking them on purpose and showing them how to react to that fear. And that's exactly what we plan on doing. We're going to scare the bejesus out of this horse and show him this is how we want you to react. If you're scared, stand still. If you're worried, stand still. If you don't know what I'm asking, stand still. Because what's the horse's most natural instinct? Just take off. And it's not a wonderful instinct for us whenever they're being natural to who they are. So first things first, we're going to use the lead rope because it's the longest thing that we have. And we're just going to touch the air around them. I like to double up the rope, hold it by the end here, and swing it overhanded because I have pretty good control of it there. As soon as I can touch the air around him, we're going to start touching him. If he didn't have the saddle on, we would cinch prep him. He does have a saddle on, so we're going to flank him. And you'll notice we're going to go all over the place, back legs, front legs, flanks. We want to know who he is. If you get surprised by a horse, you didn't ask them the right questions. Notice, whenever I start putting pressure on a horse, I already have them by the face. That's why it's so important that you do kindergarten and first grade first. If you do this and you didn't do a good job in kindergarten, well, he'll just run you over. If you do this, he gets worried and you didn't do a good job at first grade, he'll either drag you, burn your hands, or pull you out of position and kick you. So it's important that we're very thorough with kindergarten and first grade. In my opinion, kindergarten and first grade is just establishing how our relationship's going to be. The rest is the training part. You drop something. You drop something. Whenever I do this, I'm going to start right here in the nose. Reason being, it's in front of the drive line. This is their investigation center. Anything that happens in front of the drive line being right at the front of the girth, is going to want to shut that horse down. So when you're purposely trying to get that horse to stand still and show him what you want him to do whenever he gets scared, spook him, he thinks about going forward, get in front of him again. Notice a couple things. I have a short enough line that if he tried to jump past me, he's going to run into my body weight on his face before his butt gets past me. We don't want him to take one hop, have his hip past us, and be in kick zone. So he's either going to, one, run into our hand and give, which is what I believe he'll do. That's going to move his butt away from me, taking me out of kick zone. Or two, if he's that dead set on getting away, he's going to drag me out of the kick zone. But in both scenarios, I'm not letting go of this line right here. The other thing, you'll notice that I keep my hand up between he and I, almost as if I'm waving to the voices in his head. What I'm really doing is ensuring the rope, make sure that he doesn't get away from me, drag me, pull me. The hand up between us, make sure that he doesn't turn and try to run me over or strike or bite. So if he tried to square me up with his shoulders, I would just put a hand right in his face. Good boy. Thank you. Are you guys notice how I'm creating a pattern? Everything that I've spoken with, it starts in the nose, neck, withers back, then the sensitive areas, nose, neck, withers back, then the sensitive areas. People ask how I start colts. I start horses the exact same way. The only difference is if I have a round pin available, I'll use it. and it will look like a redneck's backyard. There'll be tarps and barrels and everything you can imagine, because if that's normal from day one, from then on, everything else is going to seem easy. As opposed to we try to show the horse, it's okay, we come in peace, we don't. Okay, well, you convince that horse that you come in peace, and now they're not worried about you or respectful of you, but they're worried about everything else. So we try to do as much as we can to show them what's ahead, that, hey, you are going to be under mental distress from time to time. Just listen. So it's the same thing we're doing here. The first thing we taught him to do, once we got him soft and easy, was to freeze. We did that with the lead rope, the flag stick, the tarp, and you can go on as much as you want to do, you can do it. You want to do it shooting a gun, you want to do it swinging a rope, whatever you want to do it with. Cam bags, we use a lot of cam bags, a lot of big soccer balls that are, 4 foot tall. You can be as creative as you want to, but the punchline of this is, if you don't know what to do, freeze. If you're scared, freeze. It's very hard to get hurt at a standstill, unless you've been drinking too much. Okay, so freezing is what we want to get the horse to do. I promise you, when cars break down, they don't go. When horses break down, they don't whoa. Everybody gets hurt on a horse, the horse is moving. So freezing that horse is the first thing we want to do. Now we get to this place where we've shown him some very, very basic things. Back up, turn left, turn right. We can all agree that's pretty basic if it's supposed to be a riding horse. Now we just want to make sure that he can do it under distress. So now we put something scary on his back, and we're going to see if he can still listen to us. So we'll get his feet moving. Woo! So for the better part of a decade, I've gone around the country and around the world and ridden 300 to 500 horses a year, most of which I didn't know, riding for the first time at a clinic like this. The only way you can do that and leave the clinics and be able to tell the tale is you have to have a way of seeing who they are. What lets me know if I can ride them or not, if I'm ready or not, is whenever you scare them, how hard do they pull on the line and what kind of ride does the saddle go on? If they drag you, you are not ready. They're telling you, hey, if I get uncomfortable, you won't stop me. And who's to dictate what makes them uncomfortable? Some horse you kiss to them, oh, you can do whatever you want with this horse, but don't kiss to him. You can do whatever you want, just don't let your legs touch the side of him. If somebody gives you instructions like this, don't ride that horse. They're telling you as clear as day. If you can do everything, my horse is perfect butt. Horses have more butts than the Kardashians. Everybody has, oh, perfect horse butt. If your horse is that touchy, that one little thing is going to make him lose his marbles, we have work to do. Can we agree? Your truck can't be that sensitive. It can't have a button in it with an ejecto seat, because somebody's going to look at that red button and press it. Same way with your horse. They can't be allowed to have some ejecto seat button. We want to take those away. So the way that we do that is we touch them, make noises. The reason that blue tarps are so beneficial to training, you ever wonder how trainers, like my father's generation before blue tarps were invented, how they trained horses? Crazy, right? Blue tarps, they're awesome because they work on 3 senses: sight, sound, and touch. Okay? They're cheap. Horse trainers are broke. Also, whenever we're putting this horse in a bind, no matter what happens with that tarp, he could just break out of it like Hulk Hogan breaking out of his shirt. Okay? It's just not a big deal. That is the whole goal of this training. That's the whole goal of obstacle courses, the whole goal of desensitizing natural horsemanship. We're trying to put them in mental distress that's not real. It's only real in their mind before we go out into the wilderness, out into the woods. Obstacles were never meant to be a different discipline. Obstacles were for trainers to teach a horse what to do whenever they got afraid. And somehow now it's a sport and we think about it in that way. But really every horse, no matter if they're a jumper or a reiner or a gaited horse or whatever it is, they all should be obstacle horses, because all you're saying is, hey, take me from point A to point B no matter what's in between. And every horse should say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. With that being said, if you want the horse to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we need to gain control of their head and their butt. As long as we have those two things, that horse has no say in where we go. Good boy. So once we've done that, we are good to go, ready to ride. Long-legged woman. Thank you, sir. So you notice this halter looks a little different. My father and I went through about a dozen different conformations of halters before we came up with this one. And I've been using this for about a decade now, and it's been really awesome. I've worked thousands of horses in it. It has the extra knot on top because it's built for riding. The other thing you'll see is there's extra knots on the bottom. Those aren't really for pressure points. Those are for clipping your reins. So the lower down the halter you come, the least amount of pressure and leverage you have on the horse. The higher up you go, the more pressure you have. So I like to start right here by the corner of the mouth on the single line. And then if we have a horse that's being very sticky, very stiff, we'll actually come up higher, and that'll give us more torque. First thing we do, we hop on and sit still. Horses are creatures of habit. If we get on and go, before long they'll go before we get on. Now we're going to work on button number 1, which is simply get that steering wheel. You'll notice that everything that we do in the saddle just mirrors what we did on the ground. So we want to establish that we have his face. Once he gives his face one time on each side at a standstill, button number 2, we're going to move his butt. And we do that by pulling his face towards his hip bone, like so. Good boy. And you notice we're not really using our legs. I want to make sure that the manual override works. And why is that so important? We're taught that, oh, riding correct is riding with your legs. Riding correct is your hands in your box. Legs are a leg cue. And that fancy word cue, all that means is a nice way of asking. You're suggesting with your legs. Nobody in the history of human-horse interaction has ever physically kicked the horse where they wanted to go. If you kicked the horse and that horse went where you wanted it to go, it wanted to do that. What I mean is, if you don't believe me, I got a field full of colts at the house. Feel free to hop the fence and kick any of them you want to and see if they go where you want them to go. It's not until that horse believes that they have a system of training in place and they're listening to you and say, okay, it'll be easier if I just move off your leg. The manual override is the reins, because the smallest part of the horse is their head. Hopefully we can control that part of them. If we can control their head, we can control where everything else goes. So at the end of the day, if the leg cue goes out of the window when the horse gets scared, nervous, worried, we want to ensure that they know how to just reach down and be able to be guided by the reins. So you see him a little sticky on this side. So we'll let him move off here, slide down, move his butt. There we go. And move his butt. And move his butt. Same thing to the other side. Once we have his butt moving a little bit, I'm going to show you guys my favorite softening exercise. It's called a spiral. We're simply going to slide down the inside rein and move him to the inside, like so. Whenever he's soft and walking, we're going to lock in our inside hand to our leg and ask him to back up crooked. The thing I love about backing the horses up crooked is you have them off center. Essentially, you're taking away half of their power and strength by having them off center. So if he got real fussy, he wanted to shake his head, or he wanted to buck or rear or run, all I have to do is let go of the outside line. He doesn't get a win because he gets turned in a circle, and I get to pick him apart again. So you can really de-escalate a horse and de-escalate a situation with this exercise here. And if they're acting fussy or they're not paying attention, you just slide that inside hand down the rein and start pulling them off center, lock this into your leg, sit back, and with the outside rein only, hey, 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 and release. That's where we want them, down there. Head down, softer and easier. I want you to think about it as simple as this. Left and right. Left and right controls where they go. Up and down controls how they go. So your ability to move their face and their butt controls them running away with you, bucking with you, rearing with you. Your ability to control their head up and down controls how relaxed or how uptight they are. So look how just going through these little steps, we start finding the holes. We start finding what he doesn't like. Good boy. Notice right there, I started bumping on him. The second he even leaned back, I released. Bump, 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 bump. Release. Bump, 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 bump. Release. Look how soft and easy he was to the left, but to the right, it's a problem. Good boy. There we go. That's what I like to see. When his pole drops below his withers, it releases an endorphin that kills adrenaline. Layman's terms, it makes him relax. So imagine instead of waiting for him to relax, we could tell him to relax. It works a lot better with the horse than it does my wife. I guess if I could use the same approach, it would work too. There we go. Notice your horse, whenever it's at its happiest, it has its head in your food, eating your money, getting fatter. And whenever it's gonna pop and explode and run across that pasture right there, it's gonna pick its nose up, stick its tail up in the air, it's gonna take off. Well, I can watch all of us, a group of 30, 40 horses going onto a trail, and I can take one once over and tell you who's most likely to run into issues. And it's a real simple way. You just look to see who has their horse's head all up in the air. They're dancing around, they got white eyes. And the person who's sitting there with their arms crossed with the reins over the horn and the horse's head is in the dirt while other horses are bumping into him, odds are they're gonna be okay. Well, if we understand this, okay, that's what a relaxed horse looks like, and that's what an uptight, explosive horse looks like. Let's put some exercises into action that can get the results, the desired results that we're looking for. And that spiral is just gonna melt the horse away. You're just picking them apart little by little, and you're just getting them softer and easier, getting them to drop their head, getting them to not want issue with you. So many of us going around the world, the two biggest problems with horses are people like to sit forward and grab too much rein. When you grab too much rein, you're getting that horse's head higher and straighter where they're at their strongest. So if their power is head up, nose out, and our control is head down, nose to the side, well then that's what we need to look for. So much of our issue under saddle and on the ground, we want to start picking them apart and just looking for that resistance. Over the course of my career, in the beginning, I wanted to do the most ridiculousness. Tarps and cam bags and balls and shake stuff out and do all that because I was trying to overcome a person's anxiety. I was trying to overcome a person's lack of balance or lack of confidence. So I was just trying to do the most with them. Over the course of my career, The ideology is more or less the same, but now I know for a fact that we can tarp and bag and ball and shoot off of and rope off of any horse alive that we can control their head. Oh, you can never rope off of that horse. What you're telling me is you don't have that horse's head, because they're not going anywhere without their noggin. So if you get that same horse that you think is allergic to cows or just will never be a shooting horse, never be a hunting horse, you just don't have enough control of its head. So if we can just pick apart that resistance little by little until there's no resistance left, he will not pull on your reins. You can do whatever you want with that horse that you want to. Your dog can't run away with you, can't run away from you if he's not willing to pull on the leash. Your dog can't go attack a cat if he's not willing to pull on your leash. Well, this is not your pet. This is your obedience animal. So if we get to the place where he's more respectful of this lead rope than his urges to do whatever wonkiness that he wants to do, then you're going to feel a lot more confident and a lot safer with that horse. Walk him off again. I want to see whenever my hand melts this way, just like that, I want him to melt off center. There we go. So now I want to see that he's that soft to the other side as well. Even NASCARs that only go left, they still have a steering wheel that goes left and right. And if they didn't, if the steering wheel only turned left, they would be in a single file line at the bottom of the track. It wouldn't work. So whenever I have a horse that's real soft to one side, oh, well, he's soft there, that's not enough, because when you get in trouble, he's going to lock out wherever he's stiff. Wherever he has resistance, that's what he's going to use against you. There we go. That was better. Oh. Better. Better. Nice. He actually got softer to that side. There we go, buddy. So that's a good thing about the sensitive horses, is if you could just stick to your guns and not worry about their reactions, you can get results pretty quickly, because he doesn't want to get touched. He doesn't want to be messed with or bothered. Where you have a dull horse, you have to put in some work for them to realize that. The ultimate goal of any finished horse is that we can simply gather up 2 reins, and that horse is good enough to drop his head, put his chin on his chest, if you will. Notice I never ask for 2 reins until I get the horse soft off of 1. This is where they're at their strongest, and you have a lot of sports, a lot of disciplines that are really arguing with the horse in a straight line. Again, that's where they are strong. So we don't want to do that. Now that we've got him soft left and right, now we'll gather up 2 reins and see what he gives us. And that's what we want to see, that he looks to put his head down. Nice. Good boy. I'm going to put these stirrups up one more. Good boy. So I want you to look at, as the day goes on, horses that come in that are reactive, as they start getting soft left and right, they start putting their head down. The reactive horse gets less reactive. The hot horse calms down. The lazy horse starts being willing to work and move their feet. So much happens when you start gaining control of their head. You think you have a lazy horse, like a bum lazy, have to spur them to walk type horse. But that same horse, whenever he goes over there to eat, if that paint mare right there pins her ears, he takes off running like he's in a Kentucky Derby. So is he lazy, or does he just not respect you? So what you'll find so much is the horse just doesn't respect you enough to do what you're asking, to abide by your wishes. And it's easier for them to fuss with you than it is to do what you're asking. And that's really what we want to change. We want to gain enough respect where they think, you know what, it's easier just to go with you. So I want to be able to pick on this horse enough where he says, you know what, no matter what's going on, the flag goes overhead, a turkey pops out of the bush, whatever happens, it's easier just to give into that line than it is to argue with you. All right, I've shown you button number 1, button number 2. Button number 1 is their head, button number 2 is their butt. Now, I'm going to ask this horse to go forward, and that's button number 3 right there, their shoulders. So button number 1 was with my gene in my pocket to my center was his head. Button number 2 towards his butt. Now we get him going forward. Button number 3 is his shoulders. The key to this, we got to get him moving forward just like on the ground. move his butt, move his shoulders. So I feel a big difference ever since I started doing those spirals and backing him up crooked, that he doesn't want to argue with this halter. Well, since he doesn't want to argue in the face, he's allowing me to guide him where I want. What you'll find is people will be arguing with a body part and they'll put on bigger spurs or they'll crop them or they'll do this and that. It's never the body part that's the issue. It's the lack of control of their head. Yes, man, they're a little long for me. Got a long leg of woman right there. So I want to bring them up, especially on horses that I don't know. I want to have good contact with my spurs, with my stirrups. Having the higher stirrups, that's going to give me a lot more stable lower leg, and I'm going to have the ability that if things get a little waspy, I'm able to put 80% of my weight in my stirrups, and that really takes away their ability to move my body around. And what that's going to do, through that, I'm going to be so consistent with my hands that if he crow hops or jumps this way or jumps that way, I just put a little pressure in my stirrups, but keep my hands the way that I want. When you ride so long-legged, if that horse goes to crow hopping or gives you a little issue because you're asking him something, and there's going to be things that I ask him to do that the first time I suggest it, he's going to say no, well then I'm going to insist. And sometimes through that process of insisting, you know, you'll get a little kick out, you'll get a little hop or jump. So having a little bit more contact with my stirrups on a horse I don't know gives me a lot more confidence. And just everything that we can do to put the ball in your court, you want to do that. Understand, guys, this horse is better than us. All these horses are better than us in every way. They're stronger than us, they're heavier than us, they're faster than us, they're in better shape than we are. All these things, they have advantage of us. Except all of you are smarter than all these horses here, period, bar none. Everything's pressure and release. So every little advantage that we can take, every little time that we can move the ball to our court, move it to our side, we need to take those advantages. This is not mano a mano. We are not enemies. I'm your professor. You are the student. Sit down, be quiet, and listen. So in times that he talks back or that he acts a little fussy, completely okay. But I want to be in a position where I don't feel threatened, and it doesn't, more importantly, it doesn't take my attention away from the task at hand. So you'll see with the colt starts and the clinic horses, a lot of times I'll pick my stirrups up. As my horses start getting more finished, my stirrups will get longer because I'll start having a lot more contact with my legs and I'll be holding them the whole time. Ultimately, what I'm looking for is I want to be able to ride the horse around on a long stirrup and have both legs on them at all times, not necessarily actively pushing, but on them, making contact, so they always know where I want them to go. If I'm always touching them and there's two reins and two legs always touching them, that lets them know I want you riding straight as an arrow. The moment I don't think about turning by pushing the horse, I think about opening the door. So as this horse gets advanced to that point, the second leg comes off of them, he'll start drifting towards that open leg. We start turning. I want to pinpoint right to that pole. I'll close the two legs and now we're riding straight that way. And I spent some time with Stacy Westfall, and that's where I really picked it up. I went to her because my bridleless horses were lacking a little bit. I mean, I had already performed in front of big crowds with my bridleless horses and rode them around, did videos, made viral videos, and all that was great and cool, but I felt like they were a little drunk. Like if they weren't on a pattern or they weren't on a rail working flats, when I would get out and about and go out into the fields and stuff like that, it seemed as if they were a little drunk. Well, that's because my style of steering was so colt startish, was so green horse, that I had these shorter stirrups, kind of like what you see me riding with right now, and I'd ride like this. Or when I wanted to turn, I would put a leg on them to push them that direction. Well, now I want to turn to you, madam, and I would turn. Well, they would keep turning because there was nothing to stop them. So what did I have to do? I had to stop them with this leg and push them back towards you. Or then I had to push them back towards you. Well, now if there wasn't a fence or there wasn't something, it seemed like they were drunk without the bridle. Of course, when I had a bridle, the bridle was so steady and my hands were so steady, they knew exactly where to go. But when I went bridleless, so that really revealed to me that I had an issue. So I went to Stacy, one of the best bridleless riders that I've ever seen, and she's riding those horses around. I said, how do you hop on a horse going that fast and be able to stay on? So she's hanging on them like a spider monkey. those horses are accustomed to having 2 legs and 2 spurs on them all the time. So now instead of her pushing the horse to turn it, she's releasing a leg. She takes 1 leg off, that horse is going to turn towards the opening until she closes it, letting the horse know to go straight. At the same time, if 2 legs come off, those horses are going to plant their butt in the ground. So immediately I started using that approach to my greener horses, to my colt starts, to my problems, and it's amazing how much clarity that gives you. And it doesn't matter if it works good whether you're riding English or Western, whether you're riding one-handed or two-handed. 2 reins is 2 reins, 2 legs is 2 legs. So when I want this horse to turn, I would simply want to look this way and have him move off this direction until I put a second leg back on. I want to turn right, I look right, take that leg and rein off, and put it back on when I want him to go straight. Take that leg off. So you really get just pinpoint accuracy. Amazing for, I love roping is my addiction right now, or cowboy mounted shooting or polo, really anything that you're doing, it really gives that horse a lot of clarity. Respect and undivided attention is really where we start. That's what I spend most of my days working on, is respect and undivided attention on horses that I don't know. Once you have those 2 things, the real secret to success from that point forward, that's a big hurdle that most people don't have. They're studying all these videos, reading all these books, but all that information means nothing if the horse doesn't respect you. It's like you have all the greatest information that you want to tell your kid, and your kid's a teenager's like, yeah, mom, you know everything. They're not listening. That's why so many parents will send them to somebody else. Like, we'll have horse trainers that send their kids to you because they're like, they won't listen to me. So, and the parent is more than capable of teaching them everything they need to know about horses, and they'll send the kid to you because the kid won't listen to them, or send the spouse to you because the spouse won't listen. We've all been there. Anywho, once you get that respect and undivided attention, okay, from there it's just clarity. Clarity is the big missing component. So many times the information that we are digesting that we want to give back to our horse, we want to regurgitate back to the horse after you take it here at this clinic. If it's confusing to you, you're not going to turn around and make it simple for your horse. So everything that I'm trying to show you guys, I'm trying to keep it as redneck simple as I can keep it, so anybody, I mean, even husbands, figure it out. I mean, one of the best compliments that I've ever received in my life is I had a husband walk up to me and say, young man, may I talk to you? I said, yes, sir. This that darn woman been dragging me all over the country for the past 20 years listening to you trainers. And son, I gotta say, you're the first one I ever understood. Thank you. It's like, yes, I speak husband. That's how I know I'm keeping it simple, and I'm doing my very best. And if I think that the horse doesn't get it, I'll make it simpler for the horse. And if I think you're not saying it, I will say it in a different way. But those are the really important things. Another thing that you'll notice, somebody asked me a question, I'll stand on my soapbox. I learned this, and I didn't learn this from a mentor, I learned this from doing clinics, is it's scary to do clinics in front of people. Like, horse trainers, we're raised by ourselves working horses. So the idea of working in front of a crowd is kind of scary. 6 months into doing clinics, I started noticing I was getting better results at the clinic working the horses just like this than I was at home, which didn't make any sense to me because at home I'm using the same tools, same hands, and better, the horse has my undivided attention. And it took me about another 6 months to have that epiphany. Wait a second. When I'm at home, I'm just work, no stop. Here, I work the horse for 2 or 3 minutes and I stop and BS for 2 or 3 minutes. I work for 2 or 3 minutes and I stop and BS for 2 or 3 minutes. That interval training will spike their adrenaline pump whenever I spook them, worry them, bother them. But then very quickly, when I stop and talk to you, they get a resting heart rate. So just like if you go bungee jumping or you have a close encounter with a bear, on the way home, you're gonna wanna sleep because your adrenaline pump went through the roof. The next thing that happens is, just like after having a bunch of sugar, you're gonna have a sugar crash. Well, it's the same way for your horse. So when I'm working with them, even if you guys weren't here, I would be working him in the same manner, where I ask him to do something and then I stop and let him ponder it. I ask him to do something and I stop and let him ponder it. Notice one of the times that I stopped and talked to you guys, he went from being real stiff to this right side and not wanting to back up well to butter soft. Well, that little time of stopping, oh, that's uncomfortable. I don't like pulling on his hands. That's right, buddy. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So we have his face, we have his butt, we have his shoulders. Now we're gonna ask him to move around and we're gonna start putting this guy feels soft enough to start putting a ceiling, which means I'm gonna start asking him to put his head below the saddle and release him. Every time that he drops his head, I'm gonna give him the reins. Release. Good boy. So I'm sitting back over his haunches because the goal here is to get him to put his head down and leave it down. Stop looking for green goblins. I want all your attention to be on me. Keep his nose a little off center to the inside. Good boy. All right, you got that horse softened up pretty good. What I'm gonna do is make that circle smaller, take that inside rein and leg off, circle him here, and then push him right back out. Keeping his head bent to the inside the whole time. Getting that circle smaller. And what I'm trying to do is just illustrate really how we're just gonna get pinpoint accuracy on that horse and just how simple it is. It's just the open and closing of a door. Hey Pops, you want to put one of the poles right here and another pole right out there? Will be awesome. We'll do something called riding the eye. Any horse that you feel is a little stiff, sticky, giving you an issue, have them off center. And a couple pro tips to do that. You've already got them soft left and right. I already got them given pretty good. You just put one right here. There you go, that's fine. Yep. Then one right here will be fine. I love to have visual aids for you guys because the more consistent we ask the exact same thing the exact same way, the quicker your horse is gonna pick it up. So a lot of times we'll ask a horse to give their face, but we're not calling our hand to the same place. We'll ask the horse to give their shoulder, but one time we're calling towards their shoulder, the next time we're calling up towards their neck. So the way that we're asking it is changing. You're using different words to say the same thing. So the more consistent we can be, the more clarity it's going to give to our horse. So what I want to do with this guy is I want to take him right around this pole right here, and my eyes are going to be on the pole. And you're going to see just how much, number one, I'm going to have him moving off center where he doesn't have any real power. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to double up my reins here. We're going to go to the left, so my right is going to be my outside hand. And you're going to see I'm going to double up. And this is going to come out here. I'm going to keep my left hand inside this line right here where the shoulders and the neck meet. That's where I'm going to draw that pressure to. And that's going to get him really good at neck reining, leg yielding, just moving off of any kind of pressure that comes towards the shoulder. We already did this from the ground, and he said he could do it there. So now I'm just asking for the same thing under saddle. So I'm going to move this guy right here. Usually the best place to start is with a small circle and start asking him to speed up. Notice when I want to keep him right here on the pole, my leg and rein on the inside are off of him. And when I want to switch, look how that leg and rein come off of him. And when I want him to track in between my hands and legs, both legs and both reins are touching him. Make the circle bigger. Make the circle smaller. Switch. Right here to the other side. Nothing changes in the canter. Push him out. Push him outward. So notice when he gets confused about direction, since I have that inside hand locked in on him, I don't have to be looking at him. I don't have to look down at the back of his head to see how things are going. Since I have him off center and I have my arm extended, the only way for him to straighten out, so if he was a runner, to be able to lock his nose out in a straight line, if he was a bucker, to plant his head between his front legs, he would have to straighten out his head. Well, since I'm asking him to move forward like this, look how I can see the corner of his inside eye here. Well, that allows me to really be ahead of him where we're going with my eyes and not have to worry about him. So I'm constantly guiding him where I want him to go. And we'll be going around here and he'll be thinking about making a direction change. And anytime he tries to dart off into the round pen or to the other corner here or there, he automatically catches himself, runs into that pressure, gets a little stuck, and then finds his way to where I'm looking. Very quickly, you're gonna see big improvements in how your horse guides. So many folks, when they're going around an arena, when they're going anywhere, and they pick up any kind of speed, one of the big nemesis is the vehicle doesn't know where we want to go. We think they do because there's a fence here, but then you get a little off the fence, you start getting towards that corner. Now you see the horse's head going left and going right, looking over the fence, looking in the fence. By taking so many of those variables away, where the horse is looking the same way all the time, where you're looking the same way all the time, where you're guiding the same way all the time, that takes so much of the lack of clarity out of there, where the horse can really pay attention and listen to you where you want to go. If you can add that little exercise to your program, you're going to see big changes in results. You're going to get that horse really going where you want him to go and be a lot softer and easier. And you can do it, we're doing with him today in a halter. You can do it in a halter, a snaffle, a curve bit. And basically you're saying any riding horse should be able to ride off center. What you'll find is when you go home and try this, very few horses do. Unless they've been asked to, they have to be straight, which basically what we're saying is we can give. Most horses will flex of some sort. We can flex or we can go. So basically your vehicle's telling you, you can turn the steering wheel or you can press the gas. Pick one. That's not enough. You got to be able to do both. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. They need to give and go. So these few little exercises right here are really going to help you with that. The two ways to get a lot of resistance out of your horse, or for them to forget their training, is one, scare the bejesus out of them. We did that. We grabbed him by his legs. We showed him a tarp. We did this, that, and the other. The next thing that you want to do is go fast. So get him to canter, get him to trot, get him to canter, get him going. I kept this power of the circle down here just so you guys could hear me talk. But usually power of the circle is in the center line of this arena. And we're really going to let them cover ground and go somewhere. But it's the same ideology. Keep them bent off center and go through your gears, walk, trot, canter. It's amazing the results and the confidence you'll gain once you've done that. Where you've scared him, you think, oh, even if this horse gets scared, he's not going to drag me or pull me. And even if this horse goes really fast, he's not going to drag me or pull me. Those are really the two things that make horses come unglued. Would you mind passing that soccer ball, young lady? If you don't mind. Going fast and getting scared. So those are two things that's where we want to work. This horse is obviously trained. This horse obviously has buttons. He didn't just learn right now. So whenever we're coming up to something scary, sit back, look up, complete loose rein. Whenever he makes a decision, we do the opposite. Go! So this is a big misconception. All of you wonderful horse people here, how many of you have come off of a horse? How many of you got hurt by a horse? Felt pain? Oh, okay, everybody. Because it's not about when you're gonna fall. It's not about if you're gonna fall, it's about when you're gonna fall. With that being said, how many of you fell off of a feral horse that had never been ridden, that you had to blindfold and hobble and tie to an oak tree to get on? Usually the answer is somewhere between 0, maybe 1 if there's an amateur bronc rider that thinks that's cool. Most of us get hurt on a trained horse. This is a trained horse. With that being said, you're saying that you fell off of a horse that knows how to ride. Well, if they know how to ride and you got hurt, they either weren't paying attention or they didn't respect you. So these are the things that we're really trying to put into place. We really want them to understand, hey, this and this, no good. So we spook them, they try to run off. We spook them, they try to run into us, we back them up. Well, now they can't back up. They can't run into us and they can't run away with us. It's the same thing here when we're doing power of the circle and we're going fast. If we start going around here and he starts going too fast and he starts trying to float, which means he runs off away, we're gonna take our hand towards his butt until he disengages and send it back this way. What's the other thing a horse can do when they're going fast and you turn? They'll crash. They'll they'll point the horn that direction. Well, that's where the other one comes into play, where we pull their face towards their shoulder and move them out. Well, now you kind of have the same 3-door scenario. Door number 1, run away with me. That didn't work. Door number 2, crash in and just lean in that circle and run over the barrel. That didn't work. Stay in between my hands and legs. Okay, complete freedom. When we were spooking him from the ground, he tried to run away, pull on his face. Nope, don't run away. He tries to run into us because he can't run away from us. You get backed up, don't do that. Stand still and take a deep breath. Complete freedom. So he, again and again and again, it becomes his idea to do the thing that we're asking. If I've learned anything about being married, it's this. If it's your wife's idea, it's a good idea. So any idea that you want to have, if you just make it her idea, it's going to get done, you see? It's the same way with a horse. If we can convince him that it's his idea, whenever we come to the soccer ball or something that he's afraid of, we want to sit deep on our pockets. We know factually he's going to try to get away with his shoulders. That's where the direction comes from. So if it's a bear right there, you let him and a bear have a conversation, guarantee he's going to go left or right and try to get away. That's what horses do. They turn and they run. Turning tail is from horses. They turn tail and they run. So if he turns left, saying it's not a grizzly bear, if he turns left from a grizzly bear, we're probably just going to hold on and go with him. I would imagine. I don't have a lot of grizzly bear experience. I know you guys do. Nor here nor there. Scary thing in front of him, he turns left. If we're sitting over his butt, we see his whole front end go this way. We grab him by the face, we face him up. If he goes to the right, we pull left, face him. We're keeping it so clear. We're only grabbing one rein and we're only giving one direction. He goes left, we pull right. He pulls right, we go left. The horse is not going to run towards their fear. So we know that we get in trouble whenever they run away, whenever there's movement. So if we keep facing their fears, then they're not going to get that motion to get us in trouble. So that's exactly how we're going to approach this right here. He wants you to bring the tarp. So we play a lot of soccer ball, and we like to play a lot of soccer with 4, 5, 6 horses. That mare's a little fussy with other horses. The horse that's the gelding that's been beat up in the field and scared to get by other horses. We want to play rag 'em, tag 'em soccer where there's nothing to do other than listen to your rider. It wasn't 200 years ago we asked horses to charge certain death in war. That's how we got to them. If they can do that, they can cross the tarp, they can play soccer. But you have to drive them, you have to push forward. So whenever we go, let's say towards this tarp, we want to come, sit back, look up. The key to this is keep your chin up, keep your shoulders back, give him his face. So many times that horse goes to look down at the water, he goes to smell it, then we jerk on their face because we're scared. Our mind says they're going to jump forward. Well, you just said, hey, that's acid water, don't go there. 2 seconds later, you're kicking and whooping on the horse and getting to the acid water. He looks over his shoulder and says, this is acid water, we'll die. So he can't go forward because it's acid water, can't go backwards because you're kicking and whooping, and can't go left and right because you got the reins so tight. Well, hell, the balloon can only hold so much air, and then it's going to pop, and that's where we get the explosions. Time and time and time again, we use that word explosion with the horse. You can have a whole bunch of black powder and put it right here and set it on fire. It just fizzle out. It does absolutely nothing until you put it in a cannon and block the entrance. Now the cannonball comes out. Or you put it in a pipe and it pops. So much of horses, we cap them because our natural human instinct when things go wrong is to grab 2 reins. Well, forward is their direction. You just cap them where they can't go forward even though they have all this energy forward. Well, now we're creating a bomb and that's what goes boom. Instead, I implore you to try to be on a loose rein as much as you can. A tight rein is the illusion of control. If a tight rein saved you, I wouldn't have a job. Quite frankly, I would not be able to live the life that I live if 2 hands and 2 reins, grabbing up on a horse and sitting forward would fix a horse, I would not have worked, because that's what everybody tries to do when things go wrong. Instead, I want you to sit on your butt, and when things go wrong, redirect that horse, because that's the chance that you have. Redirect that horse because that's clear and obvious. When you grab all the buttons, he doesn't know where to back or rear or stop or go. You're clenched on tight with your legs because you're worried. So you're pressing the gas pedal to the floor and you're holding the brake to the floor as well. Well, something's got to go. So instead of that, if you just think, let's see how ridiculously soft we can get them in the face and butt, and when anything goes wrong, take their butt away from them. Take their butt away from them. From there, you will have so much confidence going forward. You go get instruction, or you watch a video, or you read a book. Now everything that you're reading you can actually put to use because you're confident enough to ask of the horse. So many people, they have the information, but they're not willing to ask of the horse because the horse is stiff to the point that if you make him uncomfortable by asking, well, then the horse is going to pop. Have you ever heard the term that uncoachable kids become unemployed adults? Well, what they're saying is if you can't put a little pressure on that kid, if you can't criticize him a little and critique him and give him constructive criticism, well, then he's not going to be able to play the game that you want him to play, and he's going to be unemployed because nobody can tell him anything. The kid that can handle a little bit of pressure, can handle some constructive criticism, well, they're going to learn and grow and build from that. Your horse is the same way. If I can't pick on him a little bit, if I can't say, hey, give me your face, he said, no, I'm not giving. I said, buddy, I'll just sit here and be more persistent than you, because you beat a horse with persistence and not power. If I can't pick on him without him popping, he's not going to make it very far. So that's how we're going to get that horse to be very pliable and very easy, by just step by step breaking down that resistance until he's very pliable. Like the way that he's standing right here, that's how I want to see the horse. Before I go anywhere, that's what I want to see. A flat horse, head to butt, flat line, just waiting for the next instruction. When he came in, he didn't look like that. Whether it's new facility or he traveled or well, for whatever reason, he had his head up like a little peacock, a little banty rooster. Buddy, put your head down, relax. This session took an hour to get to this place, or 45 minutes to get to this place. The same session tomorrow, if we did it again, would take half that time. In 3 days, it'd take 10 minutes. By the end of the week, you know, you just grab the horse and back him up and ask him to go left and right, and that's it. Imagine you get these horses because this is your hobby. You spend the hard-earned money that you saved up to have a horse. Then you went and got a truck and a trailer. Then you went and got a place to keep them. And now you go to your favorite destination and your dream vacation. You get there and you don't even recognize the horse that comes off the trailer, because the horse that you're used to is used to his house and his arena, his place, the trails around you. And you go to this new place and you don't even recognize him. He's yelling for other horses. He's dancing around. He's bumping into you. If you have a program in place like this, you can just grab him and back him down that alleyway right there, and you have a new horse. You reset the motor to who he is. Yes, ma'am. I come from South Mississippi, and in South Mississippi, there's 2 kinds of mamas, and you can find them both in Applebee's. You got that one mama that has them kids that ruined your dinner. Like you went on a date, you decided you're gonna wine and dine your woman, so you take her to the local Applebee's, right? Really going downtown. And then you got them kids in the other corner that's just making so much noise they're ruining your dinner. You can't even whisper sweet nothings to your woman. They're being loud, and the mother's being even louder than the kids, telling them not to be loud. But you can tell those kids, just like that horse has, you love me, you ain't gonna whoop me. So they just keep acting bad. On the other end of the restaurant, you got that other mama, where you got the 3 cute little babies and the husband, and they start making jokes and cackling a little bit, and the waiter comes up, and the mother's had enough of it, so she goes, just like that. The 3 kids and the husband all get quiet. The waiter gets scared and says, I'll come back. She just quieted the whole corner of the restaurant just by clearing her throat a little bit. That's the type of respect that you want from your horse, because you want, when you're going out in the wilderness down here and they see something, or they see a moose, or they do this or they do that, you can say, and that attention comes right back to you. Most people aren't working on attention because nobody's discussing it. They're talking about all these exercises and they're talking about all these body part control, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, if the horse isn't paying attention, how you handle the steering wheel isn't going to matter. You know, how you handle the brakes and the this and the that and these things that you're doing, all that goes out the window when your horse won't pay attention to you. And the horse doesn't pay attention to you, just like that, the mother that had to yell so much because the kids didn't respect her to start with. So think about it like this. A good horse person is like a good mother. They're bipolar. okay? That same woman who will kiss you on the forehead and send you to school with a sack lunch, if you get a call from the principal that you've been fighting, she'll grow fangs and talons before you get off the bus. Not that it ever happened to me, because I was a model citizen as a child, but I've heard stories. Does anybody have any questions?
I have 3 for you. Can you show them the difference? You did 3 different exercises there. Can you show the difference between riding the eye, the spiral, and power of a circle? What the difference was in the 3?
All right. So the spiral will be the first of those things that you do, because that's really where you're going to get that softness and that give to the reins. And remember, you don't beat a horse with power, you beat him with persistence. So getting them off center like this and locking this hand in, it really sets you up for success to be able to just pick him apart. So he wanted to be a little fussy for this, but I had no concerns, no worries, because he's so off center. What's he going to do? Like if he has an issue, if he tries to rear, I just release the outside rein, hold on to the inside one. If he tries to buck or run off, I'll just let go of the outside rein. He's just going to turn a circle, and then when his feet come to a standstill, I'm going to ask him again, hey, excuse me, can you come right here? So picking that apart, notice I did that before we ever went anywhere. If this horse's steering wheel ain't working, walking, it's only going to get worse the faster you go. If you're in the garage and the steering wheel doesn't turn, don't leave. Call AAA, call a mechanic. People are leaving their barn every day around the world on horses that don't have a steering wheel. And they're just like, it's okay, Buttercup's going to take care of me. That's flawed thinking. Buttercup weighs 1,200 pounds and Buttercup has her own mind. Don't believe that. You need to be able to dictate. You need to be able to be in control. So that's how spiral works. Riding the eye and power of the circle, very similar. I'm going to start by having this horse off center. And that power of the circle is having a visual aid here, keeping my eyes on this pole. When I want to go inward, inside rein, inside leg off of this horse. When I want to go outward, keep the bend, outside leg and outside rein. And you're going to get such good control of the head, the shoulders, and the butt that you're going to be able to place that horse wherever you want. When you want to track in a straight line, and when I say a straight line, on a track line around this circle, look how 2 legs, 2 reins touching this horse keeps him in a pretty good circle, and whenever he drifts out of my circle, he gets redirected. So when he tries to drift outward, my hand comes towards his butt. When he tries to drift inward, my hand comes off the outside leg and outside rein. So very quickly, you can run through all of your gears, walk, trot, canter, and fly around the field, the arena. I love this setup right here. If this was my place, I'd be using that a lot, where I'll trot or canter over to that tree, do a couple circles, then go here, go there. You don't have to have an arena to be able to do this. You have to have good control of the horse's head. So out there, that horse is, whenever he gets to lean, he gets to doing this and doing that, he's going to slip, he's going to make himself uncomfortable. Well, that's one more thing that's going to make him want to stand up straighter, be more balanced, be more even. All that's going to help you with your control of your horse. But I love for folks to have a visual aid, somewhere to look at. When I'm going around this arena, I'm always, my eyes are somewhere. Like I'm not looking at my horse, I'm looking at that post down there at the end if I want to go straight. When I want to go left, my eyes are here. What that does, by always leading where I want to go, I'm riding with intention. So kids are usually great horsemen. Not because they know anything, but because number one, they don't think about what can go wrong. They're fearless. But more importantly, the thing that we don't talk about is they're always riding with intention. You can watch a kid ride from the other side of the arena and know what he wants from that horse. Go, 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 whoa, whoa, turn, turn. Because they're being so clear, if they survive, the horse usually does what they want. Because they're being so clear with the horse always knows. So it's not good horsemanship, it's not good technique, it's great intention though. So now, you being adults and being willing to learn and being willing to get schooling, you're head and shoulders above that kid. Well now, don't forget to ride with intention. Sometimes we learn so much that we forget to act and let that horse know what we want. So we'll just hop on our horse with no plan of action, you never hop in that truck and then think, I'm in the truck, where are we gonna go? Every single time you start walking towards that truck, you already know where you wanna go. It's the same way with your horse. A lot of time our goal for the day is to ride our horse. Then we sit on the horse's back and we have no intention or plan from there. Well, it's really easy for a horse to get into trouble if you don't know what you want to do. Because now you're going around and that horse is starting to guess. And you're like, No, don't do that. How are you gonna say no, don't do that if you're not telling him what to do? So the more intention that you ride with, the more of a plan that you have, the easier and smoother your transaction with your horses are gonna be, and the more your horse is gonna start paying attention to you. And in the meantime, when you have no intention, this is what you'll get. You'll see horse after horse. They might dance around, you might not be able to get them to stand by you, they might call for other horses. When we get to this point, the horses are gonna stand here on loose rein, waiting for us to give the next instruction. Because if he makes any decisions without us, we'll simply redirect that attention to us. Whether backing up crooked, moving his butt, moving his shoulders, do something to be better and better until that horse, it's hard to get him in trouble. Because even if you're out in the woods and there's a creak or a sound in the woods, you just gather up the rein and the attention comes right back to you. Instead of him looking for green goblins and you saying, hey, pay attention, you'll just pick up the reins and just like that, his attention's coming right back to you. And that's what we're looking for. Any questions? Good? Awesome, guys. Nice horse.
Action.
Hey guys, you just watched a video from our Alaska clinic and I could not give out our secret code word because people would know it. So now the code word is...
Which code word?
I don't know, I'm working on it.
Be normal.
Ready?
Be normal.
And the code word is purple platypus. I repeat, purple platypus. If you put this in and you're the first person on sending it in to gasconhorsemanship@gmail.com, first person to email purple platypus, you're gonna get a free 1-week stay at our retreats. Come hang out with us and get some world-class horsemanship, all while taking a wonderful vacation in sunny South Mississippi. I'll see you there.